What's up, guys? And today we're going to be talking about incompatible relationships. All right, so incompatible relationship is a huge deal. It's a big problem in our lives because relationship, well, let's face it, relationship is the center of reality. The way we conduct ourselves in relationships to other people makes a big impact on our universe. Not just our universe, but the universes of other different dimensions and other different planets. So that's why I don't know, for some reason it sounds fucking funny saying that shit. Like, who's actually gonna believe that? Believe me when I say that? No one, right? Well, I'm serious though. But anyways, relationships and incompatibility. So, what to do about incompatible relationships? All right, so this doesn't mean that you need to, throw your partner or throw your husband or your wife or even your children under the bus just because there are a couple things that you don't like. Maybe you don't like certain things. Maybe they are a certain way. Maybe you are a certain way. And this doesn't mean that you need to end the relationship or terminate the relationship. This the relationship can still be salvaged. This relationship can still be saved, even despite the fact that there are a few differences or maybe there are conflicts. Because sometimes there are different levels of awareness levels within that vibration. So you gotta understand that although maybe they're not at your level of vibration, they are still in that vibration, just at a lower level of it. So like a different shade of color of it, I guess you can say, kind of like a weaker version or a lower level version of that same type of vibration. So maybe you're more developed in that vibration than they are. So when you're interacting with them, your vibration is technically stronger than theirs in that vibration. Now, one thing that you can do is make it easier for them. If you see them struggling, don't. It's important to be authentic and it's important to express yourself fully, but it's also important to be mindful of where the other person is at in their personal development. If they are not really like, if they're not compatible with you, nothing you do is going to work with them. So that's why it's important that you make it easier for them while still being authentic, while still being in your frame. This is still very much doable. And it's not necessarily, the focus point is not necessarily on the words that you say. It's more about your attitude. It's more about how you carry yourself on an energetic level. It's not, the focus point shouldn't be on the words and what you say and what you say. The focus point more so is how you carry yourself on an energetic level. And how you carry yourself on an energetic level is way more important than the words that you use per se. Because you gotta remember that what people feel is what you make them feel on an emotional level, not necessarily the words that you say. That's just kind of like the carrier of the emotions. But the more important thing that we need to focus on is the vibes, the emotions, the emotional states, because these things are way more impactful than the words that we use. The words that we use are only about like 10%. What we say, the body language makes about 90%. So we know about someone depending on their body language and also on the emotional states that they project and transfer over to other people. And that's why I'm telling you guys that it's more important that you start to focusing more on what you project on a vibrational and energetic level as opposed to what you say, because the words are not really that significant on a super high level of spirituality. On a super high level of spirituality, it's less, the focus point needs to be lesser on the words and more about the vibes. All right, so another thing I want to mention about incompatible relationship is I did mention you want to be authentic, right? So stay authentic, express yourself fully, be creative, and be authentic. Yet always be mindful of where this other person is at in their personal development. If you're operating from the 11D and this person is in the 3D, what you're doing is not going to be well received by the species or the earthling that you're interacting with. That's why it's important that sometimes you got to dumb it down. Sometimes you have to simplify it a little bit so that who you're interacting with will better receive you, right? Because you got to understand that if they don't understand what you're saying, they can't receive it. And you can't just like overpower them or slam them with high vibes if they're not ready for it. So in NLP, there's something called model of reality. Everyone has their own model of reality that they have that is their essential blueprint that describes that is basically the components of their reality, such as the words, language, the emotions, their memory bank. So when you do too much, especially too much too soon, what you'll do is that you will overwhelm that person with stress. And when you overwhelm them with stress, you won't be able to really meet them where they're at, and what your message will not have impact. You won't have emotional impact. So it's important that the delicate balance is to find that right flow where you're happy in yourself, you are expressing your truth, you are being authentic with who you are, you're expressing yourself fully on a energetic level, but you also keep in mind of this other person, because if you overpower them too much, this is the equivalent of bullying. So this is pretty much spiritual rape when you just slam them down with, a truth that's just way above them or way above their level. Like you have to consider the fact that your growth itself took time, right? When we were babies, it took us time to learn everything that we know now. So it's going to take them time to get where you're at on a frequency level, on a vibration level, on a conscious level, on a level of awareness. So not everyone is at your level. Not everyone can accept your version of truth right here in this moment. So you have to be mindful that sometimes they're not ready for your level of truth, and it won't penetrate them because they have a problem with that truth. They have a problem with that part. They have a problem with that piece per se. And the more the problems that they have with that piece, the more issues you're going to have in the relationship. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be conflict. It's going to have a lot of conflict. It's going to have a lot of issues. It really will. This is why they say that the two lovers are love is when both people are in perfect synergy, both people love each other fully, both people are essentially alike each other in almost every single way, where the realities are integrating completely and they are becoming each other, where they know the ins and outs of each other almost completely, almost like they can like literally just kind of like role play the other person out intuitively, and they can finish each other's sentences. And that's a really really like cool place to be in a loving relationship, where you can literally what your partner is going to say on a psychic level, on a spiritual level, on an intuitive level. You can sense it, and it's just like whoa. It's like you guys are in each other's minds and bodies and spirits. So that's like sex on multiple different levels. And that's freaking like that transcends, pure physical sex. This is when you really get to know each other on the ins and outs of each other on multiple different levels, and that is freaking crazy. Like that's a crazy experience. All right. So in compatible relationships, it's important that you remember to keep in mind where this person is at currently in their stage of awareness, vibration, their moods, and try not to overpower them too much with a truth that they're not ready for. Because if they're not ready for that truth, there's going to be conflict in that relationship. There's going to be conflict with themselves and in that with what they say. And this in the human world can be best, be seen as beliefs. There's something called cognitive dissonance. When you overpower them too much, they're going to have dissonance. This will always happen. Anytime you overpower them with a version of reality they're not ready for, they will have dissonance. Even it can just be a small thing. They will have dissonance. Now you can say, well, how about being authentic? Like, well, you can. All right, if you are authentically in your truth, then you will be in line with people who are on an energetic level, are a vibrational match to you anyways. So most of the time you won't really attract people who are not quite there yet either. Meaning like you will attract people who are in your vibrations. So you don't really necessarily have to worry about that per se. So it's more important that you focus on, just being at the frequency and vibration that you want to be, and you will find people who are on the vibrational match. Now, the exception here is, if certain people move out of certain frequencies and vibrations, then you're gonna have conflict unless these vibrations are friendly or compatible with each other. So this is a little bit more advanced, right? Because we talk about different type of vibrations. We always talk about that vibrations always have to be the same. And all things considered, it's a lot easier when they are the same. But there are certain vibrations that are friendly with each other, that they're synergistic. Kind of like different planets. Like they have the horoscope, like this planet is good with this planet, and these are the different planets that work well with each other. It's very much like that, honestly. Or even colors, where certain colors are very synergistic, and they have a better flow and they have a better chemistry with other different type of colors. So just keep that in mind. So I'm just gonna summarize it real quick. You don't have to terminate a relationship that's incompatible. Sometimes you will have to bump them up in vibrations. And what this means is that you're gonna have to teach them certain concepts, certain mindset things. Maybe gonna have to teach them something on certain things on an emotional level. But be careful not to overwhelm them too much. Anytime you overwhelm them too much, they will have dissonance. They will have stress. Okay. Now again, you might not need to worry about that because with the law of attraction, you will just be a natural match to people who are a vibrational match to you. But if you want certain types of people and they're not at that vibration, you can't force them into your vibration because that's not their either default vibration or dominant vibration. So then you're gonna have to get them into your vibration, which doesn't really make sense. It's actually a lot easier if you just get into their vibration. That's a lot easier than trying to force people into your own vibration. Trust me when I say this, like if you're gonna try to force people into your vibration, you're gonna end up doing a lot more work. It's gonna be a lot more work for you to force other people to get into your vibration. Versus you can literally just shift vibrations into that person's reality quickly. And this is something called that's entering someone's reality. And this is how you build rapport, this is how you build trust. One thing that is very important is trust and safety and comfortable. And if we mingle with people who are like ourselves, and if we cannot find common ground, common interests, and we cannot build rapport successfully, we won't trust another person. So if we don't like their vibes, we won't trust it, and we're gonna reject it. We're gonna ignore it. That's why it's very very important that you learn that yes, you can be authentic, but try not to have a problem with adapting. Sometimes you may have to adapt to someone else's vibration if you want to change this person, or maybe you want to help this person, or maybe you want to heal this person. They do this in therapy. Therapy is all about that. A good therapist listens to the person that they're speaking to without judgment, without criticizing. And you don't know if that therapist does that in their real life. That's part of their job, but they're still being authentic, but they're in that moment, they're playing a different kind of aspect of themselves. So you can learn to be authentic and still put on a different hat, try a different thing. You can try be different things. I don't know. I mean, as a as a small example, you can be a CEO of a company and you can still mop the floors too. You can be a boss and still be mopping those floors. Just because you're CEO doesn't mean that you can't mop a floor. Now, I'm saying that as it's a weird example, right? But I'm saying that as more as like, you sometimes you can juggle different types of frames, different types of realities within yourself. Remember that God can do all things. And if you are God, then you are capable of doing all things as well, right? That means that you can shift in multiple different vibrations and not necessarily have a problem with that. Now, you will have a problem with certain types of vibrations that are not compatible with your own dominant vibrations. right? That's important to understand. You are more likely to vibrate better with people who are more like yourself, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. That's just kind of what it is. But I'm also saying this that you don't need to end or cancel or terminate incompatible relationships. You can find a common ground or common interest. Now, however, if there is a incompatible relationship, then changes will need to be made in that relationship if you want that relationship to stay. Okay? If there are no changes in the relationship and that relationship is blatantly obvious incompatible, then just terminate and cancel and end that relationship immediately. It's a done deal. It's over. If it's blatantly obvious that it's incompatible, then you have to end and terminate that relationship because otherwise, both parties or more parties will not be happy within that relationship. So, yeah, there was something else that I wanted to say, man. Damn, what was it? I wanted to say something else about this. All right, well, okay, so changes, you can make changes within the relationship. You don't need to terminate it, but if it's toxic and it's hazardous and nobody's happy in that relationship, then it most likely better that you just terminate, cancel the relationship, or you take a break from the relationship and give it some space. Okay? There is work, there's play, there's rest, there's all these different components to reality, right? So when I'm saying this, I'm not saying that you have to terminate relationships. I'm not saying that you need to make a quick decision. But what I am saying is learn to adapt, learn to be authentic. That's kind of what I'm saying, that it's okay to be authentic, but also be adaptable. Because if you want to interact with certain types of people, for whatever reason it may be, maybe you want to do therapy work, maybe you want to heal them. You need to be able to enter into that person's reality. Otherwise, there's going to be collisions. Otherwise, there's going to be friction, and this will create dissonance between the two. There will be a huge contrast that will make people suffer within that universe or universes. And that's why I'm saying this, and that's why it's very important. Be authentic, yet still learn how to be adaptable, relatable. Because if you don't have these things, you're gonna struggle when you're interacting with different kind of realities and different consciousness. Now, in your reality, everything might be fine and dandy, but when you're interacting with other different kind of realities, you will have collision there, and that's why I'm saying that. Anyway, that's all I got for you. There was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot what I wanted to say. That's all I got for you. Until next time, friends. This has been Davinci Neptune, and I'm signing out now. Visit me at prosperitylife.com for more tips and secrets to life. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, friends.